Welcome YouTube. My name is Art. Do another video. The last video I did was kind of like sombering and everything, and I'm moving past that. This is a more light-hearted video. This is about a passion of mine. Okay, one of the things is that this is what I call the evolution of my comic book journey and what I think about them. Now, the thing is, when I first started reading comics, I was like 4 or 5 years old. And they were really, at that time, they were really cheap. But then again, this was like the late 70s, okay? So, to give you an example, check this out. This is Conan. Oops. This is Conan. Conan number 72. Yes, back in the day, Marvel had the rights to Conan, so they put out a Conan comic book, of course. As you can see, this is it. See how worn that is? Even had stuff on the back. Old comics have this stuff. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I found this recently. And of course, I should be wearing my glasses so I can read this a little bit better, but but as you can see, look at that, 30 cents. 20 some pages, 30 cents for 20 some pages. That's not bad. But then again, back in the 70s, money was from what I understand, money was very hard to come by. So what happened was, my father noticed that whenever I try to read, I used to read Dr. Seuss and everything, and it didn't hold that much interest. Somehow he gave me somehow I picked up a comic book and I started, he started helping me read them. And then all of a sudden I started reading that way. And I started reading more and more and more faster. And so all of a sudden, that's why back in the day, me and my friend Dynamite Kid 100, if you check out his channel, he has some good stuff there. We was talking about you can go to 7-Eleven to pick up comic books. Yeah, back in the day, you can go to 7-Eleven, a bookstore, drugstores. They had like a carousel of comics everywhere. Just like like they have magazines, they had comics. They'll sell it everywhere. Okay, that's how easy it was. Oh boy, I should have did this before, but I wasn't paying attention. But then again, like I said, it helped me learn how to read, and that's one of the reasons why I have a love-and-hate relationship with comic books. Now, you did read me right. Love and hate relationship. One thing is that I love the fact that they're there. I have something to read if I'm bored. Problem is it gets very addicting. Just like any kind of addiction. Just like any kind of addiction. You can go overboard, and I have done that on many occasions. A lot better. No, thing is that, right, for my vision, they say it's because of, I'm getting older, but then again, also diabetic, which also affects the eyes. So, but basically, a lot of times when I look at stuff from close, I can see it, but it looks blurry. Like, for example, I can watch a YouTube video on my phone, it'll look blurry without my glasses. In print, unless it's like big, bold letters, I can't see. It'll just look blurry. Now, the funny thing is, this book, I'll tell you the truth, I usually don't buy comics just for, value. I just like them. But the thing is, let's say, for example, if this was in prime condition, this would be worth $6. Even if it was $6, would I trade it in? Would I sell it? No, because it's a freaking Conan comic book from the 70s. You can't come across this very often. So it'd be silly for me to sell this. Next is another book, Daredevil. This is Daredevil 138. Daredevil 138. Now, if you notice, it's also 30 cents. And this was made in, I want to say 78. 78 or 79. 76, sorry, 76. So I was like 4 or 5 years old. And I was reading stuff like this. Now, the thing about today, in today's society, a 5-year-old couldn't read things like this because otherwise people are like, oh my gosh, this kid's gonna get all screwy and, screwed all that shit. I was reading stuff like this. I mean, the funny thing is, at 10 years old, I was watching Benny Hill. Now, for those of you old school people, you know what Benny Hill was. But the funny thing is, watching this is kind of brings a certain nostalgia. My man, like I said, again, one of my best buddies on YouTube, Dynamite Kid 100. We talk on the phone on a regular basis. We'll talk about nostalgia, and he showed up an X-Men comic that he bought when he was a kid that brought a certain nostalgia. So when I see this, I said, man, I remember I remember actually when I bought this with my allowance? No, I don't. But it's just amazing. The funny thing, now the hilarious thing about this, if this was in prime condition, it'll be worth about $40. I was like, whoa. I'm like, but then again, I like this book. I mean, I haven't read this in like 40 some years, but would I sell it? The answer is no. Now, this right here is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1. I remember because Spider-Man is my favorite comic book character. As you see, 30 cents. And I think as I sealed this up like not too long ago. Let's see, what year was this? Oh shit, I hate when this happens. 76. 76. Oh, one thing that's cool. See this insert? These were notebooks that you could buy back in the day. I had this one right here. Where my finger is? This finger right here? I had that one. And the thing is that this was in, it's not the best condition, but, it's been in my, luckily this survived the flood. Luckily this wasn't even part of the flood at my dad's house, but if this was in prime condition, this would be worth about $90. But then again, would I sell this? No, because it's Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is my favorite comic book character. But it's kind of fun to see this kind of stuff. And like when I saw this, I was like, man, wow, Tarantula. Like, oh, when I saw this, I said, oh my God, this is awesome. Me being my silly self. Okay. Now the next one I want to show you is Daredevil 141. This is one of my favorite ones, and I'm kind of surprised that this is in somewhat decent condition. Somewhat decent. It's kind of funny. A lot of my Daredevils survived a lot of condition than my Spider-Mans because I read Spider-Man so much. Like, for example, the Spider-Man comic I just showed you, I read it so many times when I was a kid. And yeah, I know there's a glare because of, the sun's right there. But, it's like, see, it's 30 cents. And it's a very good story. And the funny thing is this, it's about in good condition, this would be worth about $50. Okay. Now, funny thing is that because I love the story so much, I wouldn't sell this. Matter of fact, I remember I went to a store and I found this for like $13. I should have picked it up until I could have a second copy. But, hey, what was I thinking? This next one right here is Amazing Spider-Man 258. Now, notice the price on this is 60 cents. This is in the 80s. Now, you think about this. In the 80s, my allowance, the thing is I had allowance. My allowance is $10 a week. Sorry. like mid to the late 80s, there was local comic book shops that sold specifically comic books. They started popping up because 7-Eleven stopped selling them for a little bit. They started phasing out selling them because they have all this, they didn't sell it too much. So you had to go to a store. So what happened? I take my $20 allowance and go buy comics. Now think about it, 60 cents, $20. I didn't spend my whole thing, but think about this, 10 books would have been like $6. What a deal! Now this is the one of the most famous storylines. It's very well because talking about the Black Venom suit right here. I believe so. And actually, tell you the truth, let's see what year this was. Now, the thing is that I replaced the bag and board because sometimes they 1984. 1984. This is when they found out that this is when he found out the infamous black suit. Now, I'll tell you the truth. Now, before I go, let me show you this one. Secret Wars. This was in the mid 80s as well. Look at the price, 75 cents. Now, the funny thing is, if you notice, comic books were somewhat cheap back in the 70s and 80s. They were pretty cheap. So, I mean, hell, $20, you can get a shitload of comic books, and boom, you're on and popping. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is Now, this is what happened is during this conflict. He finds a suit and it molds to him, and then boom, new suit. The funny thing is, I bought my original one of these because it got destroyed in the flood, so I bought this new one. I paid like $80 for. I paid like $80 for it, but it's kind of worth between $70 to $90. So hey, it's not bad, but hey, I love this, and I'm glad to have this back again. This one, when he finds out that this suit was actually alive, so which leads up to the villain Venom. Okay, and this is when he finds out about it, and then what happens is in another comic that I'm looking for again called Web of Spider-Man #1, because the other one got destroyed. That's when the other precursor to Venom. Now, this is now check this out. Amazing Spider-Man 300. This is one of the most popular Spider-Man comic books ever. Besides Amazing Fantasy 15 and the first few. Look at the price. $150. This is in the mid to late 80s. Now you gotta think about this. $1.50. $1.50. Come on now. But as you know, as we get older and older, stuff costs more money. Now what happens? I bought this. This is a replacement. I bought this. The original one I had of this got destroyed in my dad's flood. So what happened is I was overseas. When I was like, oh man, that's the one. I love this book. So what happened was I went out, bought it for $36. Found it for $36, and even back then it's cool. Now the funny thing is, this book right here, it's worth on average $400 to $500. In awesome. Now that's in regular condition. So this book could be worth about $400 to $500. That's pretty sweet. Also, it ties into Venom as well. It ties into. It's the first event. It's Venom. The first appearance of Venom. And the funny thing about this, I like, holy crap. Now, the funny thing is when the Venom movie came out, everybody thought that the speculation was that these two books was going to jump up in value. And it didn't. It's pretty much, this is worth about $10. Funny thing, this is worth about $10. This is worth about 70, 80. So that's not bad. But this thing is still worth money. Still. Even without the Venom movie or not. Of course, 301. He goes back to the original book. Costume, dollar. Now this is what I was like in college. Going to the comic book shop every week. I rebought this for $16. Now it's worth about $40, which is fine. This is one of those books that I'm not going to sell ever, but it's kind of hilarious, the story, because I used to. The funny thing was I had this on my wall at one time. Had this on my wall. And the funny thing, I had both of these hanging on my wall at my dad's house. And what happened? Someone broke into the house, and the thieves stole money and everything else, but they didn't realize these was worth money. And that was hilariously funny. But anyway, but then again, during the '90s, things got a little, during the late '80s. This is one of my favorite Captain America combos, Captain America Annual number 8, with the awesome Wolverine cover. It's worth about $40, but look at the price. $125. So, like, for example, back in the '80s, comics was like $1, $1. That's pretty freaking awesome. So imagine going to the store for $20, getting a shitload of comics. Now, the '90s come along, and now what happens in the '90s? People realize we can make money off of comic books, and the comic books industry boomed significantly. Everybody was buying comics because they was looking for the next big money maker investment, and that's why a lot of books increased their print runs. For example, X-Men #1, they printed 1,000,000 books. Now, if you print 1,000,000 books, the more prints you have out, the more books you print, the less it becomes. A lot of people didn't think about that until later on in years, because like now you can go to a comic book show and see like old toys selling for $200 to $300, and you'd be like, "Damn, I used to play with that thing. I used to play with this." Like, for example, the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Me and my brother played it to death. It's broke. Ours is broken, and everything else is in my storage unit. If you can find that in the box, unopened, unsealed, sealed and unopened, you can fetch up to $4,000 or $5,000 for that thing. Can you imagine that? Yeah. So what happened was that they started adding like hologram. Like, this is Spectacular Spider-Man 200, having like hologram foils just to make sales. Jacked up the price to $295. Okay. Now this was pretty pricey back in the '90s, but you see with this, look at this shiny, and it's and I'm thinking, oh, this thing's worth about $5. All that is worth about $5. Oh, now check this out. Amazing Spider-Man 365. The 30th anniversary issue. See that hologram? And if you do it right, you can see the hologram. Ooh, look at that. See, look at all that. That's nice. Ooh, nice and shiny. It's worth about $8. It's worth about $8 to $10 average. And people like me bought like 2 or 3 of these. I mean, for $2.95, buying 2 or 3 things was not a big deal. I said, "Oh, I gotta make some money." So worth about $8. I can't even fill my tank for that. The funny thing is, I can't even fill my gas tank with that. If I sold that book, I couldn't even fill my gas tank. That's hilariously funny. Web of Spider-Man. Look at that hologram. 30th anniversary. See that hologram? Ooh, nice. Look at that price. Ooh, $6. This is probably worth the price of a Happy Meal. Now, the funny thing is, would I sell this? No. I wouldn't sell it because I like the book. Look at this. Shiny. Worth about $5. See that? Shiny. See, we're doing everything they can to get books to sell. And so what happened? Every comic book company did stuff like this to get this to sell, and people bought it. And the fun thing is now people like have, like, for example, I have long boxes of comics, and I'm like, what was I thinking? But then again, back then, I get something like this. Look at that. This, in about 10, 20 years, this thing will be worth money. It's worth $5. Story wasn't the best. Story was pretty good. Story wasn't the best, but it's worth about $5. So technically, if you found this, you can really get a good read. It's a good read, but the thing is that after a while, comics started costing more and more. Started hitting like the $1.50, which wasn't bad. $2, $1.95 area, still not too bad. $2.50, $2.75, and I was like, this is getting too expensive. This is getting way too expensive, way too expensive for shitty stories and not enough value. Now, here's the funny thing is, see that now comic books today, like I bought this at a Walmart, came packaged. Now this is like $3.99. The average price for comic books now is $3.99. So now I'm looking around here, it's like at $3.99 or $4.99. So if the average price of comic books is $3 to $4.99 now, if that's the average, then I'm going to be more selective on what I want to buy. See, because what happened is, after the mid 90s, the comic book industry bottomed up because they realized they pushed as much as they could, and they try to do everything they can to get readers. People like me was still reading them and still buying them. So what happens? Then again, they said, we're going to increase the cost of paper and all this other stuff. Increase the cost because the paper costs more and all this other stuff. And now comic books now is like $3 to $4 a pop. So now, right now, on average I buy like 10 books a month. I started back about recently. For the last year, I only buy 10 books a month. Now, what happened is that when I go to a comic book show, I usually look for the trade paperbacks. So, which means that I get all the storyline. Like for example, Hellblazer. I like the show Constantine, and I like the character, but I never bought the original book. So this is the Rebirth, which is like the new versions of it, and this is the graphic novel. Sorry, this graphic novel was like $16, $17. So for $17, and what it covers, like what, 5 or 6 issues? Yeah, something like that. Or like this. $16. Oh, it covers, this one covers about 5 issues. So 5 issues, instead of spending $40, I get the whole thing for 15, less than 20. So like this, always wanted to try that one out. I saw this, I was like, whoa, this is awesome. So for 16 for less than $20, I got the whole collected storyline without spending $40. Okay, right then and there, that was more advantageous for me. Also, the comic book industry and local comic shops do the free May. The first weekend in May is free comic book day. And so what happens is there's certain books that has free comic book day on the label and they're free. And most stores either you get 2, 3, or up to 10. Or you can get 2 or 3, but you gotta buy something to get more, or something like that. One store says you can get 3 books, so I get 3 books there. It can't be doubles, okay? Another store I can pick up to 10, but no matter no matter what, I always bought a book, always bought a trade paperback from them to show my support. A lot of those people will show up there, buy comics, and don't show up again until next year. And what happens, they think that this will help people buy more comics. Doesn't work that way. If you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, because of this, this is stuff from the comics. So this will help bring people to read more comics, and guess what? Not much. Every Wednesday is what they call New Comic Book Day. For a comic book fan like myself, Wednesdays is the best day because that's when all the new comics come out to buy. Some stores have what they call a pull box. So that means that I say I want these titles. I have 11 books at this one store, and so what happens? When I get paid, I go there and say I want my pull box, and I get up to like 5 or 7 books, which is like $30. Now back in the day, I bought like 25 to 30 books. It was like $30 a month. Not a problem. That's why I have a lot of stuff. Now, one thing I want to show you. But then again, like I said, a lot of people don't buy comics anymore because, one, it's expensive. And a lot of us talk about that. And plus now with the variant craze, in which like every book has a variant. I'll show you. For example, this book came out last month called Absolute Carnage. This is one I showed you in the past video. I got this signed. Okay. Now here's the thing. This right here is what they call a variant. Same book, just different cover. Here's another variant. So what happened is now almost every comic has a variant cover, and some variants are worth more than others. You just have to pick and choose which you're poison. And the funny thing about it, it gets really pricey. There's a store I go to. There's a store I order from if I want certain variants. Like, for example, Spawn 300 comes out soon. For $70, I got 15 different covers. Because I know one of those covers is going to be the magic money-making cover. Hopefully. It's all speculation. Okay. Right here, I want to show you this. Ultimate Fallout number 4. Now, the fun thing is, I bought this years ago. Now, this is what happens. This is when there's a new Spider-Man, Miles Morales. This is the first appearance of Miles Morales. If you saw Enter the Spider-Verse, that's Miles Morales. This is the first comic book. 10, 15 years ago when they introduced... Now, funny thing is, he's not a new character. He's been around for 10-some years, at least. When they introduced him, there was a big... it was no big deal because this was a separate universe. But what happened was this conservative opinionist, I call him Glenn Beck, made this big stink about Spider-Man's going to be black. He's black. We're going to have a black Spider-Man. I don't like this. Okay. And what happened? He made a big stink of it. So when I heard about that, I'm like, maybe I should buy that. So I went to the store and I picked this up. And the funny thing is, this is one book that I have that I always lose, which means I put it somewhere and I put it up and I can't find it. And the funny thing is, I spent 2 hours looking for this book so I could show it for this video. I lost this book. I thought I lost this book. The last major show I went to look for this book, and they were selling it for almost $100. It's worth about 80 or so. 80 to 100 bucks or so, up to 100. So I would have had two. But the thing is that this is a fun read. But the thing is that a lot of times we all look up and say, okay, for me, this is going to be the next big thing. And then when it doesn't happen, I mean, back in the day, you know, tr- remember baseball trading cards? I remember my brother had a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card. He ended up getting five of those. I don't know how much they're worth now, but it was funny because, oh my gosh, if I can get the Bo Jackson card, that'd be like awesome. Bo Jackson was a athlete who played football and baseball at the same time. Okay, so they forced him to choose one or the other. But you see right there, it's one of the collectors, and also in the late '90s to early 2000s, the Beanie Baby craze. Basically, all those Beanie Babies was technically not worth anything except for one specific one that was worth like 500 or 600 bucks. Don't know which one, but it's all about speculation. Man, now that I'll tell you the truth, this was a very long video. I knew it was going to be kind of long because of all the stuff I wanted to cram into it, and I'm very sorry for that. So you spent 30 minutes listening to me talk about comic books and my evolution of my comic book journey. Now, like I said, I love them, and sometimes I have a love-hate relationship where I stopped collecting them for 10 years. Just only bought trade paperbacks. I got boxes of paperbacks. Some of them I haven't even read yet because I was like, oh, but I'll read these later. I'll read these. I'll read these later. I'll read this later. And 2 or 3 years later, I was like, did I ever read this? Huh? I don't remember. I read it and I said, oh yeah, I remember this. And I said, okay, yeah, okay. But anyway, so the thing is, this is something I'm passionate about, and if you're passionate about something, don't be afraid to do it. Don't be ashamed to do it. Tell you the truth, yeah, you're right. I think a lot of women pass me up because I do this. That's fine. And the funny thing is, these are the same women who call me up. Can you tell me? I want to see Captain America with my boyfriend. Can you tell me all about him? And I'm sitting right here like, hmm. Years ago, you passed me up. You passed me up, lad. You passed me up years ago. Now you want to ask me about Captain America? Well, just to be nice, I'll tell you about Captain America. Okay, stop being silly. Okay, so basically, that's it for. I'm sorry that this took longer than I wanted to. Maybe I should have broken up into two parts. But sometimes breaking things up to two parts to me, I'd rather just do one long video instead of breaking up to 15 different parts, whatever. But anyway, um, whew, wow, I feel accomplished right now. So anyway, I want you to take care of yourselves, like I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking better care of myself. I'm feeling a hell of a lot better. So those of you wondering, I am feeling a lot better. Yeah, just stay on my meds. Feeling a hell of a lot better. Trying to get some rest, like myself. Have a nice. This is the Labor Day weekend. I'm not drinking, so that's fine. I kind of want to buy some. Kind of want to buy some alcohol, but I probably won't do it. I don't know. I don't feel like it, but a lot of times I just talk myself out of it. But that's okay. So with that, I wanted to say thank you for staying up and watching this damn long ass video. So take care of yourselves.